Yo, when I spit bars in a rave, man, I go hard like Santan.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Kop End Fracas, powered by Touchline Media Group. I am your host, Krish, and today I am joined by Marco and Fahi, and we also have a special guest. If you are watching on YouTube, we are joined by James, aka at Tiago's Father 89 on Twitter. James, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm real good. Thank you very much for having me here. I am really excited for this show. It's been a long time coming, as certain people in the chat know, but finally, you have got Tiago's Father 89 from the Red Sea Pod come down to shut down. We're here. I'm so excited. Like, I'm actually buzzing for this. Buzzing.
That's what we like to hear. You know, we're as happy to have you on as you are to be here as well. Fahi, Marco, how are you, lovely gentlemen, doing this evening?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm nice to see some familiar faces. Marco, I saw you the other day. Had good vibes on Friday night. James, you know, I just jumped on your pod 2 weeks ago. Now you're here on mine. So yeah, happy days, man. And Krish, obviously, your beautiful face. Pause. You know, nice to see you as always.
You know, it's the face that pays the bills around Kop End. Mark, how are you doing, bruv?
Yeah, man, it's good to be here, man. Looking back with some good news for all of us. Like, it's just nice to see everybody have some nice vibes. We'll have a great pod, innit?
It's been a good week for everything Kop End related, you know, personally and professionally on the pod. So yeah, it's been pretty good time to be a Kop End pod member. Before we do get stuck into things, let us kind of get some stuff out of the way. Of course, if you do like what you hear on this pod, then please do subscribe to the Kop End Fracas Patreon page. From as £3 per month, you'll get access to some of the greatest LFC content available on the interweb. You know, no bias here. It just is really good stuff. As you saw from what we had on last week's pod, the transfer game, that is one of our flagship series for this summer. It was a lot of fun. I've got one of the participating members on the episode with me today in Fahi, and you know, he did a pretty good job. I think Marco also did a very good job with his team as well.
We did a better job. I won't lie to you. Still, I think we did a better job. Fuck all that Grealish talk, man.
But to find out how Marco did, you're going to have to subscribe to the Patreon. So do head over to www.patreon.com/Kop End Fracas and subscribe from just as little as £3 today. And of course, this episode of Kop End Fracas is proudly sponsored over by our partners at Fanslide. That's right, Fanslide is back, empowering your fantasy football experience for this summer's Euros. For those who are a little bit new to the podcast, you're probably wondering, what the hell is Fanslide? Well, Fanslide is the world's first live and in-play fantasy football game with no long-term commitment. You can play in one-off matches that you'll be watching live anyway, and the real-time updates are supported by the good people from Opta. You can slide players in and out whenever you think a strong 50 minutes is on the cards and earn those points. But most importantly, get them in key moments so you can beat your mates and claim the bragging rights in your group chat. And speaking of bragging rights in the group chat, Fahi, were you fan sliding over the weekend?
Yeah, I was. I didn't do very well, but as you know, the news that came out this week, they have doubled the refer a friend bonus. So now that means if I invite James on and he wins, I get double the referral money. How amazing is that?
I ain't trying to help you.
He's an op. Anyways, Mark.
Yeah, I got you for you. Don't watch that.
Do your thing. Help me win some money, yeah?
Scratch my back first.
It is a huge win-win situation, as Fahi said, you know, with Fanslide's extremely generous referral program. If you do refer a friend from within the app and they win on that specific match, Fanslide will give you what was half. They will fully match. That's right, they'll fully match the winning amount. So you're going to want to get on that ASAP and refer as many as your friends as possible. Also, be sure to search for Touchline Fracas, all one word within the app, and add us as a friend to be with a chance of winning a football shirt during the knockout stages of the competition, which are rapidly approaching. The total prize pot for this has been over £10,000. So, you know, you're going to want to get the spreadsheets out. You're going to want to do all the data analysis you can to get in with a chance of winning a portion of that prize. So head over to the App Store today, search Fanslide, and download and get in on the action. Fanslide, don't just watch the game, play the game, like Triple H. Now we've got that out of the way, we can talk about all the things Liverpool related. And it was, you know, we normally plan this show on a Monday morning. And on this Monday morning, we were sitting there thinking, what the fuck are we going to talk about? Because there's nothing going on. as we know, Liverpool likes to move a little bit in silence. James, you can attest to this as well. During this time of the year when Liverpool kind of, they've got nothing going on, they're thinking, bloody hell, what are we going to do for content? But thankfully, Mr. James Pearce of The Athletic and all the other Liverpool journalists have blessed us with some lovely information that we can talk about on this week's pod. So we're going to start off by talking about the grizzled young veteran himself, Mr. Nathaniel Phillips. And it's come out today that Liverpool will potentially be open to selling Nat Phillips for the right offer. And there's been interest from clubs such as Brighton and Burnley. The Burnley one is the most obvious thing ever known to man. The one thing you probably you would have called it out as soon as he headed like his first ball. You think, yeah, he heads the ball like a player from Burnley does. So James, I'll start off with you being a humble guest on the pod. When it comes to Nat Phillips, do you think he should leave Liverpool at this present time to kind of further his career, building on for the phenomenal way that he ended the season and stepped up so well within the team?
I mean, let's throw it back a little bit with Nat Phillips. We look at the trajectory of his career so far. If you had spoken to him at the beginning of season just passed and said you're going to play the amount of games that you've played, he would have turned around and said, nah, never going to happen. In front of him, he's got Virgil. In front of him, he's got Gomez. Matip in front of him as well. Or arguably, Reece Williams was ahead of him because Reece Williams was still at the club while he was sent out on loan to a second-tier Stuttgart. So I think that his sort of emergence and his rise has been meteoric in comparison to where he had anticipated it to be. Do I think it's the right time for him to move on from the club? I do. I think it's only fair. This season has almost been a shop window for him to go out and get the move that he deserves and actually go out and play regular first-team football at whatever level that might be. We plucked Nat Phillips out of thin air. He was actually packed his bags and getting ready to jet off to America and play in the States when we signed Nat Phillips. So I think it's only right for him to be able to forge a career out, whether it be at Burnley. They've been linked. Crystal Palace have been sniffing a little bit as well. We talk about Brighton potentially sniffing. Brighton could be on the look for defensive reinforcements if their top draw, Ben White decides to move on. A player which I'm fond of. I think he's a decent centre back with a lot of talent that can potentially kick on. And Nat Phillips could go in there and easily do a job. Easily, he's a decent player. So yeah, let him go. Don't hold him back. Let him go.
I couldn't agree with you more, to be honest with you. I mean, you say in terms of meteoric rises of football players, it's very rare that you kind of see someone, kind of his age, 23, 24, kind of really appear from thin air. Like you said, he was on loan at Stuttgart for last season, brought him back for that weird cup game, which I thought was just really funny the season before. And he stepped up and he's done the job well and kind of just done all the basics of a centre back quite phenomenally, and helped us kind of get over the line and finish third this season. We put a poll out. We did a little bit of a Q&A on the Kop End account earlier on in the day, saying, should we hold on to Nat Phillips or should we sell him? To say it was a mixed bag of responses would be the minimum thing to say. Fahi, I'm going to come to you on this. Do you think the kind of Liverpool perception from the average Liverpool fan is that Nat Phillips is slightly better than he is perceived to be?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Listen. Nat did a good job at a time where we really needed him to perform for us. He got us over the line. He got us top four. But let's be real for a second. The type of football we were playing last season was absolutely atrocious.
Dogs of war football.
It was literally yard dog football. That's the level of football we were playing. And ultimately, if you want us to go back to the Liverpool of old, successful Liverpool of like 18 months ago, and you want to see that type of football, do you really see Nat Phillips fitting into that 11? At all. I cannot see it. I saw on Twitter today a bloke go, he should be starting alongside Virgil van Dijk. Silence.
The silence says it all, doesn't it? That's
how do you even I can't comprehend
this guy, please. Can you tell me where I can find this guy so I can blow up his
Twitter
timeline?
I will send you this out. Honestly, I can't comprehend people actually watching football and thinking of all the defenders we have, Nat Phillips should start alongside Virgil van Dijk. For the life of me, I don't get it. back to the question though, like obviously I think he should go, but this isn't even about his ability. I think really and truly, if you're looking at, well, it is about his ability. If you're looking at all the centre backs with the squad, he is, other than Reece Williams, he is the worst one out of them. And ultimately, is he going to get game time? He's not young. He's 24, 25 years old, right? He's been around the block. Pause. He needs to go and play football. He really I'm sorry, I have to pause that. He needs to play football. He doesn't want to sit on a bench. So I really don't understand why our fan base thinks that Nat Phillips would want to stay and be 4th/5th choice next season. Mm-hmm. Unless they actually think he's ahead of a Gomez or a Matip, which he isn't. It makes no sense. He's had a good end to the season. He's got a year and a half or whatever left on his Connie. Sell him, get a premium, let him live his life at Burnley, Brighton, and all these other clubs that he's linked to. Everyone is happy. What more do you want?
Completely agree. And it's one of those situations where he's kind of got the taste of playing week in, week out. Pause. See what this is what you do every week whenever you're on. We have to be extra vigilant with the pause police on the bloody pod. He's obviously got that, hinkering for wanting to play week in, week out now, and he can, he's proved that he can do a job at the top level in terms of being a serviceable, serviceable centre back. But I think, there was an interesting conversation that we had earlier, and I say conversation, it was mainly Ellis putting through kind of a weak argument, and Ellis is my boy, and I hate to kind of dog him out like this, but he put a bit of a weak argument in terms of what the potential price point would be for Nat Phillips. James, I'm going to come back to you on this. So Ellis, he's usually quite a rational person, but in this instance, he was saying that obviously we saw from Neil Jones that 50 million was around the floating price point that Liverpool are looking for Nat Phillips, and I think that's fair. 1.5. I think that's a reasonable price. And I think you could definitely get him from the clubs that we said. You look at Crystal Palace; they've got, I think, 14 players out of contract, which is insane, and are in in a little bit of a rebuild process. You look at Brighton; they could bring him in. They could bring him in as a possible replacement for Ben White, and then invest that money elsewhere. Potentially, I say potentially, definitely in a number 9, because good lord, for a club that lives and dies on XG. They don't slap it in the face at every single opportunity, and then obviously you've got your Newcastles and your Burnleys that are looking to kind of refresh their squads. But this man Ellis, he came up and said we should be looking for a fee of around 20 to potentially 30 million pounds for Nat Phillips. So as an outsider, I've given you that information, the context is behind it. What are your thoughts on that? And I'm going to let Fahi chime in straight after.
Do you know what? The market is such a volatile place. It's volatile. Yeah. Ultimately, let's throw it back. Look at 2010 when we went out and signed Luis Suarez, Andy Carroll, Stuart Downing, Jordan Henderson. We got annihilated. 35 million for Andy Carroll. Come on, bruv. When you're a club that's in need, you will pay whatever it takes to solve that issue. Again, we saw it with some of our sales that we've made. Dominic Solanke to Bournemouth. How did Edwards pull that off? Yeah. We look at Jordan Ibe to Bournemouth as well, the money they paid for him. How the hell did he pull that off? So I don't think your boy Ellis is being too crazy with some of what he's saying there. I think it comes down to if that particular club is in need at that point, anything goes. Plus you got English player tax. That's going to come into, regardless of whether it's Nat Phillips or whoever, it's going to come into the equation. So I would say 15 to 20 is probably where his range is. It's 15 to 20, but I can't see achieving into the 30s. But 15 to 20 is where I think he will be.
I think that's fair. I think that's reasonable. Fahi, I'm going to let you do a little bit of rebuttal from what Ellis said earlier on, and then we're going to head the conversation over to Mark.
Yeah, no, I agree with what James is saying, and my issue was not the 20 figure. 20 is the top end of what we should be getting for Nat Phillips. It's when I saw 30 million. That's when I was like, whoa, brother, chill out. 30 million nuts for a guy that's played half a season and can't run. It's a bit mad. yeah, the thing is, you can bring all these comparisons of looking at similar defenders or like similar profiles or age ranges and how much they've gone for. But ultimately, you also need to look at the buying clubs. And I think with Phillips, you've got to look at the quality of clubs that are going after him. You can't go around and tell Burnley you want 30 million for Nat Phillips. They'll go elsewhere. Do you get what I mean? Like you can't say that to Brighton. They will go elsewhere. So you have to be realistic. And even if Michael Edwards can get 15 million, I think that's an amazing deal.
Agreed.
Purely because of if you consider where he was last season and what we were going to do with him last summer, loan him out to Swansea. I think it was loan him out, wasn't it?
I think he was he going? I'm not too sure. I think he might have been going perm.
Was he out of contract? Was he out of contract?
So it automatically triggered an extension. So he had a year left, but because he played, I think it triggered another year. So I think there's another year left.
Right. Okay.
But,
okay.
Yeah. If you consider where Nat Phillips was and where we've got him to, if someone offers you 15 mil for him, that's an amazing deal. So that's the value I put him at.
No, I think that's completely fair. It's interesting when you say, when we're doing the comparability around similar transfers. Mark, I'm going to come to you on this. It's something fairly interesting that Paul Gore said when we had him on the pod, not last week, the week before, that how Liverpool did the valuation for the Ryan Brewster deal to Sheffield United was slim, kind of surrounded by what Oliver Watkins did for Brentford in the Championship. So they did the comparable stats from Bruce's kind of second half with Swansea in that season to Watkins for what he went for. So I think that's pretty interesting. So Mark, what are you thinking in terms of valuation for Nat Phillips?
I'm quite strongly of the belief that we should be looking for something in the range of 15 to 20. When Ellis did say that 30 number, I was completely shocked. I do understand it though. So when we go back to Force interview and he was talking about modelling Brewster's transfer around Watkins, let's say Ben White is about to go for £50 million. If Arsenal's stupid enough to pay it, he is a year younger than Nat Phillips. Nat Phillips, I believe, doesn't have the ceiling that Ben White does, but he has performed at a high level. Like he's performed for Liverpool, he's got Champions League appearances under his belt now. So when you look at it comparatively, 30 million compared to Ben White, 50 million isn't massive amounts of money. But again, we have to look at the clubs looking to buy. I think he's probably going to end up at Brighton as a replacement for Ben White if he does move. Brighton are not looking to spend 30 million on another centre-back, in my opinion. They've got other areas that they need to address, especially going forward where they struggled last season. And that will probably take up the majority of their transfer funds. So to go and spend 30 million on a centre-back when overall the club will probably be spending about 80 million in transfers as a total. And that's just an assumption based on how teams in the bottom half of the table tend to spend. They're not going to be spending 150 mil plus unless they are Aston Villa or something like that. But in terms of Brighton and what they're looking to spend, they probably would want a good brain centre-back that can come in and perform and do a job for about 15, 20 million pounds. Burnley will probably be looking at something like 15, 20 million pounds. Any newly promoted side would be looking at our fifth choice centre-back, and we do also need to emphasise that he is our fifth choice centre-back. So when people are looking at him, they're not looking as taking a necessity from us. They're looking as taking a, for lack of a better words, a excess defender from us. They're not looking at taking one of our key starting squad. So yeah, I think 15, 20 million would be perfect for him, especially considering what we were going to do with him last year. And I do like him. I like him a lot. Like he's performed quite well for us. He's been a great servant for the club. And I would like to see him get some games and further his career. So
Chris,
I think it's just what. No, go for it.
Just food for thought here. Yeah? Just another tact from looking at it. And these clubs are going to be mindful of the fee which they spend on a player like Nat Phillips, because both clubs, Burnley and Brighton, have got players, centre-backs, which potentially they can sell. At Brighton, it's Ben White. At Burnley, it's James Tarkowski. He's been angling for a move for the last 2 years. Yeah, both of those players are going to command a fee of anywhere from 30 to 40, maybe even 50 million where Ben White's concerned. Yeah, so us as a selling club are going to know that they've got transfer funds, they've got money. Yeah, we know they've got money, so we're going to look to exploit that as best as we possibly can. This is where you may see 15 million plus add-ons, 20 million plus add-ons, and all of a sudden the fees do start running into 25 million. Dare I say it, 30 million. If they go and say, right, if Brighton or sorry, even a Burnley qualify for Europe, which they've done, they're capable of doing it, Liverpool will turn around and say, well, we want an extra 5 million. If he helps you gets to Europe, we want 5 million. Before you know, that becomes 20. If you do sustained qualification, it becomes 25 million. So there's loads of different ways that these transfers can be structured, especially when you're a club which are in a position like we were again in 2010 when we sold Fernando Torres. They knew we had money. They saw us coming. They knew we had money. So we paid big amounts of transfer fees for players that were not worth it. We could exploit that in the same way.
No, I completely agree. It's why we kind of move very much in silence in the transfer market, and we only brief on certain deals when they're either close to being gone.
Can I just say one thing? Nat Phillips to Brighton is the most ridiculous transfer of all time. I don't understand how anyone thinks that makes sense. If you actually look at how Brighton play football and how Nat Phillips plays football, it does not work.
Because I did a little bit of a comparison earlier. Even if you compare him to Lewis Dunk is very good on the ball.
Exactly.
So it just doesn't make sense.
Let me shoot my guy some bell here still. I feel like he's improved a bit on the ball.
Oh, get out.
It's not a lot, but it's a bit on the ball. And seeing that improvement, he's only 24 again.
So Mark, when you say a bit, put it in a percentage.
Okay, let me say, considering how bad I thought he was on the ball, considering how bad I thought he was on the ball prior, I would say 15%.
50?
15, 1-5.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's fair. I was going to say 50. I was about to...
That's not... When the level you're at is about 20% already, 15% is like 3% extra.
It's a marginal gain. And when he is at a club like Brighton, they will expect him to improve going forward. Like I said, he is still quite young and he still has a lot to learn in terms of being more composed on the ball and not just thinking clear it first. And with the right coach, I'm assuming it will still be Graham Potter because Spurs are stupid and they're not going to go for him. But if Graham Potter still is able to be there and coach him into that way of thinking, because when you do look at people like Lewis Dunk should not be that good on the ball. I believe he's 6'7". Dan Burns should not be that good on the ball. He's 6'7". He plays left back for them and still gets up and down the pitch and is good in all areas of the pitch. Those people traditionally should not be that good on the ball, but obviously,
you know how I feel about the Dan Burn at left back thing. I think he's the greatest. I think he's the greatest thing ever. He's just like this gangly figure, and for some reason, he's like really so composed on the ball that he can get forward. It's honestly, it's just the best.
Listen, if Graham Potter can turn Nathaniel Phillips into a really good footballer, that guy is one of the best coaches in the world, hands down. And that's not a disrespect to Nathaniel Phillips. There's a type of defender he is, right? He's proper old school. Get your head on the ball first, push people out of the way, run at them. Like that is all he is. Like, and you got to respect it because that kind of defender's not around anymore. But yeah, Brighton is not the fucking team for him, man. That's crazy.
Nat Phillips, I think I said it before, is the centre back your dad will look at and say, that's a proper centre back. You know what I mean? Gets stuck in, 100%. Puts himself about. The Brighton thing could be really interesting because if Potter could, I think one of the things he did slightly improve on was his range of passing as the season kind of 100%. Went on. I look at the Newcastle game at Newcastle where some of the balls he was playing were just going out of play. On the diagonals, and it was diabolical. But as the season progressed, and obviously that's one of the things he's definitely been working on, it did improve. But yeah, if Potter could develop it into a very serviceable centre back with ball playing ability, that would be something. Whereas I think James, that was a really good point earlier when you said the Tarkowski one, because he's entering the last year of his deal, so the incentive is definitely there for Burnley to look to move him on. And the most obvious place there just definitely looks like West Ham in terms of they've had a prior interest before. They're in Europe now. They've got a little bit of money to throw about. So it just looks like that would be best for everyone involved. And Burnley, it's such a stereotypical thing to say, but Burnley is just the perfect place for him if he wants to be this consistent footballer that he is, head the ball about. They don't really play out from the back. It just gets stuck in. It's really... I'm trying to think of a respectful way to say it, but I don't think that many Burnley fans listen to nothing. This is true. It's pub football. Yeah, it's pub football.
It's Hoof football. It's Hoof football. It is.
It's
Hoof football. Yeah.
But then again, yeah, what I would say in response to that isn't football and improving as a career, trying to identify your weaknesses and then going to where you can improve those weaknesses. So if Nat Phillips does want to become a better footballer, go to a better coach and go to somewhere that will teach you how to be a baller. Because in about 4 years time, that type of centre back might be phased out completely. That would, and we're talking about stuff like Van der Vaart saying Dumfries is too flat-footed. Someone that looks extremely good on the ball in the Euros is saying is extremely flat-footed and can't play in Spain. So people are going to be looking at technical qualities moving forward. And if he does want to become that upper echelon of centre back, he should go to somewhere where a coach is going to sit him down, teach him how to use his feet a bit more, so he's not just a brutish get out of there defender.
Yeah,
I do want to ask a quick question as well before we move on, just because I like taking the piss out of other teams, so let's get it. But how many teams do you think Nat Phillips starts in the Premier League? All teams, all centre backs fit, all players fit. Roughly how many? It's a thinker still.
I reckon anywhere. Do you know what? You can't really base it on this year because a lot of teams have surprised us. West Ham surprised us. We can't all sit here and say that we were expecting West Ham to do what they did. West Ham with fans are bottom of the league. Yeah, they had an absolute blight because their fans weren't in the stadium. Yeah, touch for them. Yeah, total touch because that's one toxic fan group. Yeah, I have to say. Right. Then you look at a team like who fell rapidly. It's wherever. So I reckon
Wolves, for example.
Yeah,
Wolves fell rapidly. So in a normal season, I reckon he would go in and be a starter anywhere from bottom to probably 10th in the league.
You lot are mad. Nah, I'm not having this. Why?
No,
what do you think, Friday?
Bro, look at the team. You know what? Because I've not watched Premier League football for so long, I had to get the league table up.
Yeah, I've got the league table up, just looking at it.
All right, so I'm looking at it.
Say this year. This year's been an absolute madness. It's been...
Bro. All right. But all right, respectfully, what I would say is Burnley, Crystal Palace, Newcastle, West Ham.
Everton.
Okay, what about promoters?
Everton, listen, Everton are trash just because they're Everton. Put Everton in there, please.
All right, fine. All right, we'll pick. Fair. All right, Watford got promoted, yeah?
Yeah, Watford got promoted.
There's 5 teams because he doesn't get into Brentford, he doesn't get into Norwich because of the way they play football.
Does he play centre back for Southampton?
Yeah, all day long.
Nah, Southampton.
The only thing I have a little rebuttal against that is the way they play football as well. Like they like to ball. And it will be the same Brighton philosophy in terms of can he play football? Can he get down? Can he actually pass in between the lines and shit like that?
Here's one for you if we really want to stick some needle in. Does he play centre back for Arsenal?
He starts for Arsenal for me still. He starts for Arsenal.
He's captain for Arsenal, bruv. Because them man are trash. Yeah? He's captain in Arsenal. Listen, in your fantasy football team, in your fantasy football team, he's scoring maximum points in that Arsenal team, bro. I'm telling you, because horrendous.
Shout out still. Saliba, swap deal, Nat Phillips, we got you still.
100%. I'll take that all day.
It is a wide range of Nat Phillips, as we've just seen in terms of where he could land, but it's definitely going to be interesting. And I think, in my opinion, I think he does leave. And all power to him, really. Speaking of potential outgoings as well, one I think doesn't surprise the majority of people, and I actually think it's quite a bold and brave decision from his viewpoint. To be fair, Neco Williams. Wants to leave Liverpool and play more first-team football, which I think is completely fair. Southampton are interested, which is quite interesting considering they have Carl Walker-Peters and a host of other teams. Do you think this is just do you think this is a wise move for Neco Williams? Fahy, I'm going to let you lead the conversation on this because I know you've got some very good viewpoints.
All right, so Neco Williams wants to leave, yeah? This is my thought. This is what I think about Neco Williams leaving.
What can I say? If you don't love this country, leave it. Yes.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. If Neco Williams wants to leave, he can go. And I know people at the club listen to this pod, so I have to be really careful about what we're saying. But it's not going to work for him. It's best that he leaves.
Yeah, I completely agree. Unfortunately,
I'm really trying to work out how to phrase this.
Can I?
I don't think he's going to be able to learn on the job because Klopp will not trust him enough to help him grow as a player. Pause. So for that reason, it's better he goes and we cash in for 9-10 million and get someone else in.
So
James,
I would happily help him pack his bags. I would probably pay for transport as well. I might even drop him off myself. At the end of the day, I think with Neco Williams, there's two things, yeah, and again, not being too harsh because he does possess some qualities, right? I don't think the system we play benefits him. He isn't a right back; he's a wing back. He's
agreed.
A player,
I think that's a very good point. Yeah.
wing back. He
he
can't.
was a winger moved to right back, innit? Converted winger, innit?
Exactly. He's a wing back. Yeah. So if we played with a three at the back with two wing backs, he would probably flourish because he hasn't got any responsibilities behind him. And you see that when he's actually playing the game, you see the sheer panic on his face when a man runs off him. He's like, "What? I've got to chase him. I've got to do that."
Yo, the terror in his face.
Whenever he's matched up against P&P, it's just.
I remember Lookman vividly. I remember Lookman spinning him, sitting him on the floor, and he was turning around. Like,
Lookman,
what's going on?
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. The terror, the sheer look of shock in it. But I remember games watching him look over at the bench like, "What? You want me to chase that? No, I'm not on it." That's what he's like, bro.
Well, if you remember, if we all remember the game that he played at left back away at Brighton when Tariq Lamptey played, and Lamptey was just, he was giving him absolute fits, legging him all over.
I swear Neco looked at the bench and went like this.
You know, like in Dragon Ball Z, when Goku just allows Cell to just beat the living shit out of Gohan, just to allow him to get stronger. That was essentially Klopp in that situation from the bench. He's like, "Nah, you're tough. You've got this."
I think it was when like Frieza got Krillin and killed Krillin in the air. Like, Nico's just not ready. And
you know what's bad about it,
James? But I just think Nico's in an unfortunate position where Trent is ridiculously good, and there's no way that you can come in and deputize for that. Like, we're expecting a certain level. Right now, last season we were reigning champions. Season before that, we were CL champions. And how do you come in and deputize for that level of quality when you're 18, 19? You haven't got that grip on the game yet. You still got so much to do. And it isn't, for me, a move that suits all parties. We can bring in some more quality there. I don't really want to be spending massive amounts.
So this is going to be my next question. So I think we can all clearly say that a bid of around 12 million gets this done. Agreed?
Bro, a bid of 9 million gets this done. Let him go.
we're just going from the reports. They say we get 12 million in. So that leaves us with a bit of a dearth at right back. And we're all assuming as well that Nat Phillips does leave as well. So I think it leaves us one short in that department, considering that we've still got two of the lads coming back from, well, I say two of those, three of the lads coming back from, very long-term injuries. That Matip one was a little bit worse than we thought. In terms of getting in a replacement right back, do you think, in terms of getting in someone who can cover right back and getting centre back, you go for a Ragnar Klavan type of centre back that can kind of cover both positions? James, you're furiously shaking your head. I'm interested to learn more.
I never want to hear that name mentioned ever again. It gives me chills. Yeah, like to the bone. Raggy, Ragnar Clark, whatever his nickname was, never ever again do we ever go for something as similar or even like that. In regards to the right back position, I think we've already got a ready-made replacement there in Joe Gomez. I think.
No. Let's not do that.
Now let's do this.
I don't want to see Joe Gomez at right back, man.
No, the reason why I say is because the consistency and the amount of games that Trent plays. When you think about the amount of games that Gomez is ever going to have to feature at right back, is going to be limited. We know what Klopp likes. He likes players that can play a multitude of positions. Yeah, Gomez is that kind of player. He can play right back. He may not be the best right back that we're going to ever see, but he's better than Neco. He's an upgrade on Neco in that position. We can't say he's not. In a game where we're looking for something that's more defensively strong, we've seen Klopp play Gomez there over Trent. I think back to a United game where Gomez started over Trent there because he needed something a little bit more defensively sound because we knew that we were subjected to counterattacks. Gomez can get forward. The only worry for me is we don't know what Joe Gomez is going to return after this injury. Personally, I think where Joe is concerned, he's destined for a career like Ledley King. He's destined for that kind of career. I can see early retirement because the amount of injuries this kid is getting, and they're not necessarily muscle injuries, they're impact injuries. They take its toll on a player.
They're traumatic on yeah, it's all kind of specifically in the similar legs as well. Yeah.
It's not just body. It's not just body. It's mental. It's mental because you look at Danny Sturridge, the injuries that he's had, it wasn't to do with his body. It was a mental thing. He couldn't mentally get over the injuries to push his body to the level that was needed to play in the Premier League for Liverpool. I fear we may see something similar with Joe Gomez in the years to come. But in answer to your right back question, I don't think we'll sign another right back. I think we go and get another centre back and allows us to rotate in and out of that position with a Joe Gomez when needed because Trent plays so many games. The best ability is availability. And Trent is all over that. It's very rare he's missing.
Okay, let me jump in there, please, Chris. So I'm in the middle of a Clavan type signing and a Young type signing. So this is someone I earmarked in my transfer game. I want to go for Vissalco. I believe he's going to be available on a free transfer. He's just come off the back of winning a La Liga with Atletico. He can play left back and right back, and that is something I was calling for all last season. Somebody who will be able to play both sides because Robbo and Trent tend to play quite a lot of games, and you would want to rotate. You would want to keep one in the side at all times, like especially with their creativity. So if I'm removing Robbo, I want to have someone that can still quite contribute to a certain level. I remember saying Munier last season, but can contribute to something like that without there being a drop-off defensively. Because most importantly, you need someone that can defend, especially in defensive positions, as opposed to going forward. And I feel like Vissalco will get that covered. In terms of a centre-back, in terms of an in-house solution, not a centre-back, I think it could be Oxlade-Chamberlain. I think Oxlade-Chamberlain is very versatile. Like James mentioned, Klopp likes a lot of players that can play in various positions. I know he's shaking his head furiously at this, but
again, the injuries, bro. The injuries.
Injuries. But like you said with Joe Gomez, he's not going to have to play a significant amount of games at right back. And it will only be few and far between. I feel like what Ox offers going forward is very similar to Trent in terms of being able to get into certain areas to whip in the ball. And he also has P&P over Trent. So defensively, that could aid him going backwards. So if he's coming up against an extremely fast winger, we know Oxlade-Chamberlain's always been tenacious from his Arsenal days. And he's someone that is always going to fight for the ball regardless of where it is. He's going to try and run himself into the ground. So hopefully he can be our in-house solution. I know there's a 17-year-old, I believe Conor Bradley. I don't really want to see him too much. Like, I would prefer...
No more in-house solutions, man. Let's just buy someone, please. I can't do any more in-house solutions. Billy Cometio? No.
What about more? What about dare I say it? We spoke about someone who can play left back and right back. Like, what's going on with Tsimikas?
Apparently, Klopp wants to keep him still. Well, we'll see.
See the thing with Tsimikas, again, he's a victim of the system. He's not a left back. He's a left wing back. He can't.
There's a difference.
There's a difference, a total difference. Again, a very, very good delivery on the ball. Very, very good. He was brought for his delivery. Yeah, he can whip a ball in. The challenge is we're never ever really going to see that playing with the system that we employ, because he's always going to be looking over his shoulder. And then, like we saw with Robbo this season, his number one Cody on that side, Virgil van Dijk, is out. And even Robbo looks scared at times to get forward. So unless you've got someone there solid in that defensive, in that centre-back position, if you're playing a back four that has got pace, good reading of the game, you can never play a wing back or left wing back in that position as a left back. It's just never going to work for you. So we've got a couple of players which are falling foul of our system.
Just a little tidbit though, I do see us playing three at the back in some games next season. We'll see how.
I don't see it because Klopp said it. Klopp literally said 2 days ago he hates that system.
I think what we'll see for sure. I think what we'll see for sure is we'll see some 4-2-3-1.
A lot of 4-2-3-1.
I think that's one of the if we get the right players in that we want for this, in this window, I think we'll see some 4-2-3-1, and I think we'll see a bit more 4-2-4 as well.
Yeah, but look at it this way. Yeah, you think about it, and again, you guys might want to shoot me down for this. Yeah, but I'll take it. Ben Davies, he's still in the basement. Yeah. He's still at the club, yeah. Let's not forget, if you look at his stats from the Championship, he's a decent centre back, but he operates on the left of a free, yeah. That's where he's most at his kind of optimum will be, the left of a free, yeah. So I do feel that we could go free at the back. His crossfield passing and his passing ability is good as well. His range of passing is good as well. So he's a player which may find himself in and around the peripheral of the squad. But I think he knows that. Someone told me they said to him, "You're going to get a move to Liverpool and you turn it down to stay at Preston." He's not going to do that. He's going to go, I'm going to be able to play some part in this, and I might pick up a medal or two on the way. Then in 3-4 years' time, when I'm done being the whipping boy, I'll decide I'm gonna move on and actually play some football. So I think three at the back would suit us as well, especially with Trent's creativity and Robbo's creativity. Imagine them not having to do no real work going backwards. That'd be devastating. It'd be insane.
It would suit us. Yeah, it would suit us.
One of the main reasons I think that we will go to three at the back is to protect Van Dijk and Gomez. Like, you don't want them isolated after coming off these long-term injuries, because if they are playing the two and somebody gets at them and they're having to sprint back, like we've seen Van Dijk sprint several times, we've seen Gomez have to sprint several times. We don't really want to do them too much harm. So the three that I'm thinking of would be maybe those two in Konate, or maybe dropping Fabinho back in there to fit.
You're making me sick, man. What is this?
Fabinho in a free would have to
get out of here.
Fabinho in a free would have to.
I was in defense of like the three at the back. I said it as well a few weeks ago, but literally I saw Klopp say the other day he does not like that formation. So for that reason, that's why I said it. But yeah, I get the logic. Not Fabinho though. Allow that.
Just so we can dream. Just so we can dream for a hot minute.
Yeah, man.
Fabinho on the right of that could be a madness. He's saying, "Chris, take control."
I just want to see the chaos. That's all.
Fabinho at the back of a three. You're killing me.
The back of a three. Former right back Fabinho. We do, when you do a quick analysis of this Liverpool team, when you kind of look at where we do need to kind of rebuild in certain areas. James, we're going to let you go first. Really, we've done a lot of our midfield chat. I think to the point where we've put a little bit of an embargo on talking about Florian Neuhaus on this pod, because we've discussed him that bloody much in the past few months. But when you look at the rebuilding areas for this team, do you kind of naturally gravitate to the attack? When you look at the potential options that we have and we need to replace.
I don't see, like, a lot of people are saying we need some major surgery. I don't think we do. I think we need a little bit of nip and tuck, to be honest. Like, it's not as bad as everyone's saying it is. I'd like to see another striker. I think that Mane is going to have the season of his life next year. Honestly, I think Mane will come back absolutely firing next year because he's going to have a point to prove. We've got one of the best forward players in world football anyway, when you look at Mohamed Salah. Yeah?
Agreed.
So why are we going to go out and necessarily bolster that forward line by way of a star player when we've got a star player? I don't think Mohamed Salah gets his flowers. It's like, and that's not just from rival fans. That's from our own fans as well. We do not appreciate what we have. I also took a bit of stick saying that I reckon Salah could play number 9. I do. I reckon he could evolve to a number 9.
I've been saying that still.
I like to see Salah in some games. I think we did it against Southampton, if I'm not mistaken. We kind of played him in a 2 up top, and he was just absolutely scintillating. When you say that you would like when you like a striker to come into the club, do you have any kind of names who you have to hand, or you've been impressed with anyone that you've kind of tracked closely but been a bit more sold on during the Euros, for example?
I wanted Dakar. I wanted that bad. But he looks like he's on his way to Leicester. And fair play to the guy. I think he's looking at it going, I don't want to play second fiddle to anybody. He knows he can go to Leicester and make an impact and be the main man. Iheanacho's had a decent season, but Iheanacho's a player that plays in bursts. He's never really consistent. He has bursts. And Dakar could go there and absolutely shut it down. I regret selling Danny Ings. Because I feel he's a player that offers a lot. His work rate, his tenacity. He scores goals. He scores all types of goals as well. He's a player which I like. But there isn't anybody from the Euros. Like, I know there's a lot of this Isak talk, but I'm not over enamored. What I've seen from him at Sweden, I'm not sitting there thinking that he fits us. I don't think he fits us. Because for me, we'd be getting rid of a problem in Origi and signing another problem later on down the line. He's not the type of forward that I want to see. You know, if it was me, I'd have a reshuffle. I'd bring Salah in. I'd start playing Salah a little bit more centrally. Because if you look at the amount of touches he has in the box, if you can get him closer to goal, he'll score you more goals. And then maybe bring in a wide forward so you can alternate. That's where I'd concentrate my efforts. And also, I feel like we need to bolster in midfield slightly. There's talk of Telemans. There's talk of Neuhaus. There's talk of Basuma. Of the three of those, and there's Gravenberch as well. Of the three of them, Telemans is the one that I'd want.
Pause.
Yeah, pause that. Oh, that was dodgy, man.
Bro, I was watching him yesterday and I was like, he was basically playing the exact same role that Wijnaldum does for Liverpool. And I'm like, yes.
Post.
Who?
What? You watched Telemans play the Genie role?
No, Gravenberch. So I watched him after. I've watched him fairly closely after he played Ajax in the Champions League. And it's one of those ones where you see, profile of player, he's attacking and defensive kind of prowess, complete what it is. 19, you know, you look at it, you bring in a player, he's apex, looking to develop and knock on to the next stage. And you know, the way he was playing for the Netherlands yesterday in that position that Wijnaldum normally takes up for Liverpool, just kind of reaffirms the fact that if you can kind of like possibly do a deal for around 35, 40, I think he will stay there for another year. But if you can kind of get something done after the competition that he's had, I think you definitely look into it. But in terms of the now,
we've been burnt with that before. Like, you look at when we signed Naby Keita, we left him there a year. All the anticipation, the build up, and the this and the that, and man just on the injury table all the time. Like, I just don't want to do that ever again. I don't want to be in that position where I'm in the pub talking to my friends, going, "Yeah, you see this Donny? We're signing him, and he looks absolutely sick." He turns up, and everyone's like, "Yeah, what about that Donny you were signing? He looks dead." I just don't ever want to be in that position ever again. Like, if we're going to sign someone, get him in now. Get him in with Klopp now. Let's just go all out assault on the Premier League. Revenge tour 21-22. That's what needs to happen. Simple as that.
That's what I love to hear. Fahy, Mark, any guys that you would bring in that you've been impressed with kind of during the Euros? And Fahy, we kind of briefly touched about this a little bit last week. We'll do a little bit of a quick fire answer because it is now real Jack Grealish hours, and we're all kind of like waiting to go and watch that.
Grealish play, man. So based on what I've seen, you know what? I'm actually going to disagree with James, and I'm actually going to say that Isak did impress me purely because he can hold his own, and I want a different type of profile of forwards. And I think with Isak, he can hold his own, and he does seem to have a shooting boost based on his La Liga record, right? So for that reason, that kind of player, I would be happy with. Again, Marlins yesterday looked good. Again, can't complain. Other than that, I've actually not been too impressed by what I've seen at the Euro so far. But again, it's only the group stages. Everyone's taking it easy. Let's see how the next few rounds go.
I was looking at Isak's Sociedad shot a little bit earlier on. So 40% of his goals are in the 6-yard box, which is pretty impressive. And when you do look at what we lacked, especially from last season, is that presence where someone is in and around that area to clean up on potential blocked actions and just put the ball in the back of the net. Mark, who has impressed you so far this Euro? So you think they've potentially been linked with, and you think can help to bolster this attack?
So I completely agree with Fahy. I think Marlon would be an amazing addition. I think Isak could be as well. That's something I've been calling out for quite a while. I remember last season I was talking, to begin this season I was talking about Haaland because I want a big mobile number 9, and Isak seems like he is that. He's got the dribbling for it. He's able to play by himself, play in the 2, link up with people around him, go by himself. Like we saw that almost amazing solo goal where he started in midfield or around the centre circle, dribbled past 3 people and almost scored his goal himself. So he looks good. I do want Gravenberch. So my ideal transfer window would be 6 signings, Konate being one of those signings already. A backup right back, maybe another CM, including a Newhouse or a Bissouma. Renato Sanchez has kind of impressed me in spells, just in terms of looking at his hold-up play and how he's able to get himself involved in a game in short bursts. But we don't
be fooled by those 10-minute cameos, brother.
Yeah, we need to see a lot better sample size from him. But from what we do see and knowing him as a footballer from prior seasons and the last Euros, he does seem like a very, very good technical footballer. I hope he starts against France. I want to see him against a midfield of Kante, Pogba, who we would be playing against in the Premier League if he was to come over. And then, maybe another attacker. I'm going to keep my eye out on some attackers. I know Schick has performed really well, but I've got an anti-Schick policy, man, at the moment. So we'll see what happens.
An anti-Schick policy? I'm very interested in that. We'll talk a little bit about that later on. I think that's a really good point to kind of end the pod, but I think we can all agree that we are one light in addition to Jota within that Liverpool attack, and I think it'd be really good to kind of have a different alternate option that we can have up front to kind of play a bit of a 4-2-3-1 with. James, thank you very much for joining us on this week's pod. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. We should definitely run this back sometime. I've had a lot of fun. And tell the lovely listeners where they can find you.
I'll mute myself. You can find me at Tiago's Father 89 on Twitter and on Instagram. You can also find us on at the Red Sea Podcast as well. Number 3, Never a Foul. Shout out my dogs at Never a Foul. That's the kind of group we're associated with as well. So head over to Never a Foul, subscribe. And the 4th one, LFC Day Trippers. We've got a new segment coming, LFC Day Trippers, in the new season. Keep your eyes locked in for that as well. Red Sea Podcast is going to be everywhere. Guys, I want to invite you guys over to the Red Sea Podcast as well. As a group, individually, whenever you want, you're welcome with myself and my co-host, Southern Scouser, my boy SS. Got lots of content coming right the way through the off-season as well. So this evening, we got Transfer Tuesday. On Friday, we got our tier list where we'll be discussing left wing backs, all-time left wing backs, or left wingers for Liverpool. On Sunday, we've got LFC Euro Watch. And then also, we've got a few new additions coming to the channel as well. So keep your eyes peeled. Keep it Red Sea Pod. It's growing rapidly. But as I said, you guys are welcome to come over anytime. yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. It really, really has.
We really appreciate that, bro. We'll definitely take you up on that invitation, and do head over to YouTube. Check out all the great things that Red Sea Pod are doing over there. It is some fantastic stuff. Again, James, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you to Mark and Fahi for joining me this week. I have been your host, Krish. If you do like what you found in this pod, please do head over to the Patreon page. That is www.patreon.com/Kop End Fracas, and subscribe from just as little as £3 a month today for access to a wealth of just phenomenal Liverpool
much content.
Bro, I had a look how many episodes we got on there, both written, video, and audio. It's over 100 pieces, and they're
eating, man. Our Patreon members are eating for sure.
For just the small price of a chicken and chips meal, you're going to get all of that wealth. You know what I mean? Good lord. So do head over to the Patreon page and subscribe today. But that has been your Kop End Fracas for Wednesday, the 23rd of June. I actually got the date right this time. I'm very happy with that.
You have. You're a professional, man. You're getting so good at this. Amazing.
I try. And we will see you next week. See you soon.
Peace.